Hello to you. Thanks for tuning in. Today at Gurukul, we have joining with us Mr. Arzan Khambatta. He likes to call himself as an architect by profession and a sculptor by choice. Arzan, I want to know, how does these two universes blend for you?
So basically both of them are 3D arts,
Yeah.
correct? Absolutely so similar, except sculpture has a function to look aesthetic and to mean something, and architecture has a user function whereby the person who is making it, whether it's a house or an office, is used, the spaces are used. So in those two terms they are different, otherwise sculpture and architecture are so much the same. In fact, just right now I saw two buildings which I think were more sculptures than the architecture themselves. So I'm talking of the Museum of the Future in Dubai and the Louvre in Abu Dhabi, just two new buildings I saw, and they are phenomenal. They work as absolute works of art, and then they have a user function on top of it, you know. So they blend very well together, they go very well together, you know.
Yeah, you've coined the term Scrap-ture. Would you like to elaborate on that?
So I started working in '82
Yeah.
with scrap, lot of scrap, only scrap. I would make stories out of scrap. I would pick up pieces and try to find as to what they would talk to me about. They could be, it could be a suspension of a car which looked like an old man wearing a cloak and sitting down, you know, just something like that. And then I would find suddenly a hook which looked like the tail of a horse, and then I would try to make a story from that. A washer would look like a sombrero, you know. So I was so fascinated with the scrap, and I had to sketch very little because the pieces themselves would tell me what to make from them.
Right.
So I did this for 11 years. I got the Jahangir Art Gallery in '93 for a show.
Yeah.
I was thinking just as a name as to what do I call my work. So I call it Scraptures, sculptures from scrap. So that's how the word came about. It's still fixated with me. People still think I only make out of scrap, but no, I use a lot of new material also. But the Scraptures word has stuck on, and I'm glad, you know.
Yeah. Since you mentioned that scrap is one thing that you're fascinated by, what are the other elements of nature जो आपको बहुत fascinate करते हैं?
I think
as an artist?
every element of nature, rocks, mud, water, flowing water, whether it's still, there are ripples, whether it's a powerful waterfall, anything and everything, leaves. I photograph a lot, you know, so you find there is so much to see in compositions. It's not only what you see, but that little square inch which you can pick out from there, which is as interesting as the full picture,
Right.
you know. So it could be just one rock, literally one rock which you can just hold up and photograph against the open landscape that is there. That is so fascinating. So everything in nature is fascinating. Everyone should be fascinated by nature because that's where your mind relaxes, that's where you're actually meant to be, that's where a human is meant to be, and it's fascinating for me. Equally as seeing man-made cities, nature is equally fascinating to me, you know.
Very true. I want to get down to architecture first.
Okay.
So you've studied it professionally and you've also been in that business for too long. So I want to know what are those observations that you've taken into sculpture, and ऐसी बहुत सारी theories होती हैं. I will mention a few of them, but I want to know कि the domes that you always find in religious places. So what's the theory behind that? You see long pathways to something that's huge, so that basically claims distance,
Correct.
that claims wideness. So yeah, can you talk
So
about
it's all about visual language basically. So many times we see things, we fall in love with something, but we don't know why.
Yeah.
We see something, we dislike it, we don't know why. Correct. But there is, if you can't know also and you react to it, fine. But then in my work, slowly, not sort of forcefully, slowly, very naturally, I found out how these things work on you.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, just imagine, when you imagine it, you'll be able to get it. Imagine sitting in a center of a square room with a square feeling which is just 8 feet tall. Okay, you'll feel subdued, you'll feel sort of down, you'll feel as if you're closed in between two surfaces. The moment you visualize a dome on top, you'll sort of breathe. You know, because it's given you space around. It has enclosed the space which is firstly round. Now, why is that round space more beautiful to feel than the square space? You can't answer that perfectly, but then I talk about using my hands, you know, like you see a small baby and you cover the head like that.
Oh, right.
You know, it's something to do with comforting someone.
Shelter.
You know, like a shelter. It's like if you have a flame and you've covered it so that the wind doesn't blow it away. It's again shelter.
Yeah.
You know, so all these things have got visual references. The long pathway that you talk about. One of the best examples is Benito Mussolini's office. He was a dictator, an Italian dictator, and his table was in an office which was 120 meters away from the main door. The main door was 12 feet tall, so the guard would open it. There is nothing there in the room except columns, curtains, glass, and he is there at his huge desk sitting at the end. Can you imagine the intimidation when someone walks towards him? You know, like even if someone wants to tell him something forcefully, by the time he reaches there, he'll be subdued. So these are all body languages, these are all visuals that we create around us to make ourselves good. You know, like for example, small cute sculptures make you feel nice and homely. Big powerful sculptures make you feel enamored, you know. So it's all those sort of thing, and people use it in that way. So a good artist or a good architect would use these to actually fulfill the brief that has been given to him. You know.
In the session that you hosted with us, you mentioned something which is very unusual, which is the father of modern architecture, Frank Lloyd Wright. Yeah. So he said something that horizontal structures are in line with the nature.
Yes.
And because I think establishments across India and beyond, वो vertically develop किए जाते हैं. So what's your take on that?
Verticality is been there in New York, Hong Kong, everywhere. You go vertical because of lack of space. People realize that now they've got materials strong enough so that you can use a small plot and make 60 floors there. Okay, so imagine those 60 floors on the floor, how much land it would take. You know, so that didn't work. And coming back to the philosophy, yes, if you realize when you're relaxed, you sleep. Correct? And near a swimming pool, there's a lounge chair, you relax this way. No one relaxes sitting up. If you're sitting up, you're probably working, you're probably alert. So the moment your back is straight, philosophically also, when you sit with a straight back, blood pumps into the sternum apparently, and that gives you the energy to sort of come alive, and that's what working is. So nowadays people say sitting is the new smoking, isn't it? So you're vertical, the more vertical you are, the more energy you get, the more work you're able to do, and you're able to sort of get through the day without getting as tired as sitting. So can you imagine, from sleeping to sitting to standing? You know, so horizontality definitely is more peaceful. You go to a resort, you don't expect to see skyscrapers. You expect to see small little huts and things like that, or small villas and all. Everything is towards the ground, isn't it? That makes you feel good. The moment you see vertical buildings, it gives you a different feeling. So horizontality is one with nature, definitely. Verticality is defying it.
Right.
You know, that's it.
Through your art form, do you try to break these molds, or do you abide by these laws?
No, I don't abide by. There are no laws I abide by, but the visual laws you cannot break. For example, you cannot make, let's say, a relaxed figure of a Buddha by making him forceful. Correct. The moment I make him forceful and this thing, and I tell him no, it's supposed to give you peace, it won't. So these things are there embedded within us, you know. So you play by those sort of visual rules which you form themselves. If you want to break it, yes, by all means break it if you want to make a statement, you know. So that is also there. But you have to adhere with the feeling of the sculpture, the feeling of the artwork, you know. So that's how it goes.
Right. But don't you think that's the flip side of art in general, that since it's open to interpretation for everyone, the intention of the artist gets lost?
Correct. But you see, the thing is, I'll tell you what. So I have a take on this. So you might say, no, the aesthetic sensibilities of the public count and these should be there. Correct, as art. But you tell me something, I'll tell you about it. Now, ask that same person who likes these pieces, what phone is he using? Is he using the same Nokia that came out 20 years back, or is he a new one? Is he driving the same scooter that he did 30 years back, or has he got a new one? Is he using the same pen, or is he got something better, laptop, etc., etc., etc.? Why? Because they see it there. Contemporary art is not seen by them. Where do they go to see contemporary art? Even in your Insta and all that, the kind of reels and everything they see is more Bollywood oriented, more dance oriented. Who sees contemporary art? So when it's not seen in public, you stay back in the stone ages with what you think is good, and that is what is marring the city. So education needs to be given to them, not in terms of making them sit in a class, but exposing them to the contemporary art that is happening around the world. The moment they keep on seeing that, they would love to progress, I'm sure. It's just that they don't know more as to what to do. So they make lotuses and they make hands and they make absolute rubbish which is which wasn't even aesthetic 30 years back. You know, so that needs to be done. The moment they see it, it's the fault of it's like this. Have you ever in a talk show where fashion, film industry, cricketers are taken, have you ever seen a fine artist ever being interviewed? Never. Never. It's just not there. They think art galleries are only meant for a very few and that's it.
Yeah.
You understand?
हमने उसे super niche मान लिया.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So that is what needs to be done. That contemporary art has to hit the public at multiple levels for them to understand as to what the other world is doing and how it's progressing in that area. You know.
But since we're talking about it, I really am curious now कि हम foundational level पे avenues कैसे बढ़ा सकते हैं इंडिया में?
I think education. Just educating the public about what is there out there. Like I said, the visual impact is not there. The visual impact about clothes is there because they keep on seeing Bollywood and they see what they are wearing and it's there. Immediately they want to upgrade to that.
Yeah.
Correct? They want to upgrade to the devices that they are using. But where is the art scene? Where have you seen one of the film personalities or a cricket personality show you their home and say, this is the art I got from this sculptor or from this artist and this is what it is. So that people know that this also exists.
Yeah.
That is missing. You know, that exposure of the fine arts to the common public is tremendously missing. You know.
And I'm sure all of us can recall कि जब बचपन में भी हमें sketching या ऐसे
Yeah.
कुछ देते हैं, it's just so patent, it's
Correct,
so generalized.
correct,
एक घर
correct.
बनाएंगे,
Yes,
इसके पहाड़,
yes.
उससे
Correct,
sun
absolutely.
निकलेगा.
So that's where it starts.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. Now, just to give you an idea, I used to fight with my art teacher. I used to never know what he wanted to do, and he would fail me in art.
Oh.
But that was perfectly okay with me because I was not looking at marks. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it didn't make sense if he put a bucket and a rose inside to draw that same thing.
Yeah.
You know, little bit of practice, yes, little bit of
course.
technicality is required, but not continuously week in week out for 10 years of your art practice in school. You know.
Just a few minutes back we talked about this generation not getting consumed और या फिर industry ने in general tap नहीं किया है वो market में. So we can bring in your daughter here. She's a fashion designer.
Yes.
And I think impressions of your work are also seen in her work.
Correct.
Because she's also into scrap materials a lot. I want to know because आपका first exhibition हुआ था जहांगीर Art Gallery
Correct.
में in I think 1993.
3, correct.
So it's been almost 30 years, 31 years.
Yeah.
So what do you think how this transition from millennials to Gen Z now consuming art has changed your way of approaching things?
I think number one, they are very much aware of everything around them because of social media and the internet. Like I did not know what was happening in an exhibition in USA at that time. You would hear about it only couple of months later when it got printed in a magazine and then you saw, so God, 3 months back, 4 months back, this exhibition happened. So right now the flow of ideas is faster.
Yeah.
They get to know, like if something has trended yesterday, they will get to know yesterday itself.
Yeah.
You know, and that input, that quick input and the quick getting of ideas is phenomenal. Like for right now, I know so many architects who just keep on flipping through Pinterest and taking screenshots and making the whole design. You know, it's crazy. And now with AI, it will go on to a different level. I'm not even going there. But in our time, we had to struggle a bit to get something. Like in my architecture college, if I was told to write an essay or study about the Bauhaus movement of art, just as an example, I would have to first go find a library that had that book. Then find the right book. Probably go through one book and find that it's not the right book. Go to the second one.
Yeah.
Here, all I do is write and then millions of
You're bombarded
things just
with
open up.
information.
You know. So that transfer of ideas is faster, everything is faster, but I think it has its negative points also because then the thinking power of the person lessens. There we had to actually think on multiple levels. Like I said, it was not about only going to a library and getting it out, it was about finding whether the library has the book, which library has the book,
Right.
going there, finding out how you can approach that and whom to ask to which book to take, you know. So there was multiple things happening before we could get to the
Right.
answer. Here the answer is immediate.
With the advent of social media, I believe कि अभी we are really tuning into this जो दिखता है वो बिकता है
Correct.
वाली ideology.
Correct.
So do you also in this 30 years have changed a little and you know creating what sells?
No, definitely not. No, I have never created what sells. No.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you one thing very frankly. The idea has come sometimes to make limited edition pieces
Yeah.
of horse heads. Let's say, I have not got into it. It's something which has been very, bronze cast. If it's a bronze cast piece, let's say, recently I did a Hanuman. Okay. For not any client. I just felt like doing it. It's come out very well. I'm thinking of making 10 bronze cast pieces for that. Calling it 1 out of 1, 1 out of 2 like a limited edition and selling it.
Yeah.
Now that you can say I'm doing for selling
Yeah.
purpose because it's there and otherwise I would have only done one.
Yeah.
Correct?
Right.
So this is the first time I'm thinking of those grounds because there are so many sculptors out there who make limited edition pieces so that their work minimizes, and imagine only 10 pieces in the world. It's as rare as anything. Correct? Even 100 pieces is as rare as anything. So I'm trying to get into that, but I'm still not very sorted and comfortable, you know.
And it is also said that art is one of the greatest investments as well, because वो depreciating value नहीं है.
Oh, of course, 100%. I mean, immediately what you buy today, next week you'll be able to get more. Next month you'll be able to get more. Next year, of course, many years, so it multiplies like crazy. But 100%, 100%. There's no two ways about it, you know. Unless it's a terrible artist who has done something wrong and he devalues himself, then it's a different thing. But otherwise, good reputed artists 100% will fetch you more than what you bought it at. There's no way it can go down, you know.
Just as we're talking about it, मेरे दिमाग में एक instance याद आया. There was this series of news that came up, which is that banana painting.
Oh yes,
I have no clue about it. The name.
The sticking
and
tape
people
one.
keep on taking those things off, and people keep on ruining those museums. What's
So-
your take on that?
So I see there is a conceptual art, as they call it, you know, like what he did was in a full open gallery, an empty gallery, he took a banana and he sellotaped it to the wall. And he wrote a whole new essay on it as to about the hunger in the world and this and that and all that. Fine, it's okay. But so now you don't know whether he's trying to pull a fast one on the public or whether he actually feels that when he feels it's a good piece of art. But no one would buy something like that. So that is your conceptual art, which keeps on happening all over the world. But my take is that even conceptual art, for me to appreciate it, there should be some amount of effort in it, put into it, you know. It cannot be one empty room, and I've seen in the Tate Art Gallery in London, can you imagine? A huge gallery with 2 bricks and little hay under it, and there was a huge essay written on it. You know, that doesn't make sense to me. However good the explanation is, that doesn't make sense to me. There should be some labor involved, there should be some work involved, there should be some aesthetics involved. I'm not saying everything has to look good, but there should be some expression involved to make it, unless the artist is so convinced that this is the best thing, so but you'll never know whether he's pulling a fast one or whether he is actually convinced, correct? So there is a gap over there. Some people might appreciate it, fine, but I find that even in conceptual art, I should be able to see the work of the artist a little, you know.
Yeah. Your schedule is also a little different
Yes.
from what people, क्योंकि आज there's a lot of hustle culture, or art in general is perceived as something कि आपको you have to go do the hard yards, and but you have a strict timing, 9 to 1, then 2:30 to 5.
Yeah.
5 is where you call it a day.
Yes.
How do you replenish, and what do you do when you're not working?
So I do lots of things. I'll tell you what. So of course, you know, I teach a lot. I teach in colleges, schools, only when I'm invited, not on a regular basis. And then I NGOs, children. Yesterday I did a Kalagora workshop for children. So there's another one coming up for Toy Bank on the 24th evening. But that's interesting. That's doodling and all that. If you all want to be a part of it, most welcome to come and have a look. And so I do that. So basically, I feel I give all my energy in the morning from 1 till 1 o'clock. I am exhausted of everything that I have to do. Might not finish what I have scheduled for the day, but then after afternoon it slows down a little, and then 5 o'clock it stops, because you cannot go on that high energy throughout the day. It will completely burn you. You know. So, and this I've not been doing. People say, because you are big right now, that's you're doing. I have been doing this right from the beginning, because after 5 I've stopped cycling now because of the terrible roads and the terrible smog that we have. But I used to cycle a lot. I used to cycle at an average of 25 kilometers a day. On weekends 70, sometimes 100. I love cycling. It would completely free me, you know. I'm hoping that coastal road gets a nice cycling path, so I can start doing that again. So my first thing whenever I go to another city abroad is try find a good cycling path and sort of spend my day, 1 day cycling, so I relax, you know. So I do that. In the lockdown I learned the unicycle, the 1-wheel cycle. I do that also. Then I go for yoga twice a week. I go to the gym twice a week. Rest of the time I'm walking. And any physical activity, going to someone's house, giving them some design ideas. It could be multiple things. I love cars, so I just go and see something here and there, or someone's repairing something, someone's restoring something. You know, there's so many people which send me broken furniture and broken things to repair. So I do that also. I love it, you know, to sort of get the idea as to how it was made and how I can get it to look as good as the original, you know. And of course, then major part of my time also watching TV. So even when I'm home alone, let's say Kushnuma's not there, the kids are not there, I'm having lunch alone, I put my iPad on and I'm watching something or the other. I'm that addicted to it, you know. So I love my Netflix, of course, absolutely And I love comedy shows. So sometimes I keep on repeating also what I've seen,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So that is wonderful. And music whilst I'm walking and all that. Otherwise when I'm in the car or when I'm here.
But life में एक वो phase भी था ना where you would just go down में जाके sleepless nights and
Oh yeah, of course. That happens anytime. I mean, anytime you have to put out something in a short time or you feel that burst of energy and you want to work, you stretch. That is okay. Yeah, everything has got its
Yes.
work. But generally, I'm like this.
Yeah.
75, let's say 80% of the year, this would be my working pattern, you know.
आई थिंक इंडिया में इनहेरेंटली आर्ट बहुत है, लेकिन जैसे कारीगरी भी हम देखते हैं
उफ,
बहुत ही ज्यादा उसमें डिटेल्स
Yes,
इंट्रिकेट लेवल
yes.
पर. और अभी हम लोग आपके स्टूडियो में एंटर करे तब भी काफी लोग थे जो आपके साथ काम कर रहे थे. वेयर डिड यू गेट टू फाइंड दोस पीपल?
Oh, they're all helpers and welders. They come completely untrained.
या
And if they have the enthusiasm, they progress. That's it. I don't get karigars anyway. That you can't get.
Yeah.
If you search for someone who can do this sort of work, you won't get anyone.
राइट.
You get workers who are willing. They start first by the cleaning jobs. Slowly they go on to the polishing of the metal. Then they go on to welding. Then they progress.
या
I'm so happy. Yes, yesterday I was thinking, 2 helpers who came to me about 10 years, 12 years back. Helpers.
Yeah.
They didn't know anything. They would only help the other senior chaps. They went yesterday for a fitting to Delhi alone.
वाओ.
You know, so that's how they progress, and I could trust them, and they send me photographs, and I was very happy because they did a damn good job.
Right.
You know, so that is very happy. You don't get skilled people at all. You don't get.
You have
You
to
have to
mold those
slowly train them, because if they're skilled, they'll rather do it on their own than join me. You know, it's like that.
And what's the kind of equation that you share with them? Because I think that they are also a very integral part of
Yeah,
your work.
yeah. Also, I joke around with them. Of course, I fire them also if they are doing something. They work so hard. I take them for a vacation every year,
Oh,
couple of days
wow.
to Alibag or somewhere or the other.
That's so
Every birthday, something or the other is happening. We celebrate here.
Right.
Call for biryani. They all eat.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm very okay with them.
Because with time you become like a tight knit.
Oh yeah. And it's not a factory. You see, it's
Yeah,
not a
of
factory.
course.
It's very personal.
Yeah.
You know. So it's very personal. So 2 of them are very senior with me. One of them is not here right now, but 2 of them are very senior. They've been with me for 28, 30 years now. You know. So I mean, actually, like my home, this thing. My daughters, my children, when they were young, they would come here and work and all that. No problems at all. You know. Absolutely like home, this thing. You know.
I want to also get down to the financial aspect of
Yeah.
art. What do you think? Is it well paying in India?
Oh, it's like asking whether photography is well playing or fashion design is well
Yeah.
playing. You have in every profession a person who's not doing well, a person who's struggling, a person who's getting by, a person who's comfortable, a person who's doing very well, and a person who's gone way above.
through the
So
list,
in every field it's like that. It just depends how much you work and what your standing is there, you know, on that scale. Same thing for photographers, same thing for filmmakers, same thing for journalists, everything. It depends on where you are. So how lucrative it is all depends on you. So it's a question which I can't answer. It's what work you're doing and whether that work is being appreciated by the public and are you getting your money's worth. Like, you know, that.
जो commissioned work की आप बात कर रहे थे, do you think थोड़ी सी creative liberty is वहाँ पर restricted?
I don't think at all, you know, because there's so many things you can do within that space. Like yesterday I saw a space and I came back and that person said the only thing he told me is don't do anything figurative,
That's all.
something abstract. That's it. So now I've got how many millions of things you can do in that abstract.
Of course, yeah.
Supposing he says abstract, don't use steel, only copper and wood. Just supposing. I mean, how much does my thinking power does it cut off? Because I don't go there only, then I only exploit on that, and within that also there are millions of ideas. No, look, you see the amount of sketches I do, then you'll get an idea.
Right.
You know, so I don't think it limits your creativity at all. Jarak bhi nahi, no.
But have there been hindrances in your creative process?
On only 1 or 2 jobs till now,
Yeah.
where it happened because the brief given to me was not proper.
Okay.
It only happened because of that. So I showed them a sketch. The sketch was approved. It was something very abstract.
Yeah.
But then after I made it, they said it was a replica of a ship, not the Vikrant. I'm talking of another one. Then after I made it, they said no, this is not in proportion, and the bow should be this way, and the anchor comes from here. I said this was never discussed.
Yeah.
If they wanted it exact, I would have done it that way.
Right.
So there it became a problem. Only 1 or 2 jobs which I can recount. Otherwise, nothing else. Nothing. You know, art gives you a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And even if you are restricted, like for example, even in this, I was supposed to do that ship. But even in that ship, I could do multiple options the way I want it. You know, so it doesn't hinder your creativity at all. No, the test is to within that what can you do, you know, and I mean it works well.
And how does it work in collaborations, like when you're working with another artist and those creative inputs have to be at the same level?
So up to now I've never done a commission which is collaborative.
Okay.
We've always done collaborative works which are part of probably Karagora or something which is playful and all that, something not very serious, you know. But for a commission job I've never done a collaboration. Right now there's another collab coming up between ceramic artists and metal artists.
Oh.
So I've teamed up with an artist called Shayanti Salvi. She's a potter, ceramic sculptor.
Okay.
So I'm doing the metal work with her. Now that is for a show. That works. You know, that works because you experiment. Doesn't sell, sells, it's okay.
Right.
But if you're doing it for a client and all that, I've never done a collaborative because generally the client wants purely your work and doesn't want to experiment with collaborations.
And we transcend through art forms as well, right? You
Oh, of
also
course.
made a movie,
Yes,
Decibel.
yes.
और तो आप variations try करते हैं art में, like different art?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like today, I was trying to burn the paper drawings that I was doing. See, I've actually burned that one, you know, just to see what happens.
Right.
So now that I'm planning to combine with metal. I was trying to use my metal work on the paper, trying to hammer it and all that to see what happens, you know. So everything has to cross. Everything has to, nothing should stop you from experimenting, basically, you know.
Yes, I think that's a good line to end with.
Thank
Nothing
you.
should stop you from experimenting. Thank you so much.
Thank
It
you
was
so
lovely
much.
chatting.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice day.